they've done is incredible. Okay. So what can you do moving forward? What can every single one of you here today do to further this issue? Firstly, I want to give credit a lot of what I'm saying today to Animal Farm Foundation and Bad Rap in the USA. As you heard, I just spent a month there in May with them, and I also went to the Humane Society's Expo, and they are leaders in this issue. They are at the forefront. If you have not already liked them on Facebook, gone to their website, please do. Animal Farm Foundation and Bad Rap, okay? And a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today is in there, and you can keep it refreshed in your mind. So what's the most effective way to speak about the BSL issue? Darren talked a little bit about language, and it is so important. What's going to get the general public listening to you and hopefully reconsidering their stance? This applies whether you are speaking to a radio presenter, a member of parliament, or just someone on the street that stops you to talk to you about your dog, okay? Sometimes we can be our own worst enemies when talking about this issue. I have done it myself, and I've learnt in the last few months that a lot of what I've said, I need to stop saying, okay? And you know, you guys may have said the same sort of things. The general public will not necessarily understand or may be outraged by some of our comments. We know what we're saying, okay? But we're trying to stop these people here today that are walking past and actually let them listen and reconsider what we're saying. We have to target our comments for them, not for each other. Please do not perpetuate myths, such as saying that certain types of dogs require experienced owners only, or that they're mostly owned by irresponsible owners and that's why there's a problem. And whether they will attack is defined by whether they've been raised right, okay? I've said it before, I reckon a lot of you have said it as well. All of these statements have been refuted with credible scientific evidence, data and reports. As Darren said, every dog is an individual. Some dogs within any breed will require skilled handling. Some dogs within that same breed are easy and really don't require much skill at all. Some dogs, if raised right, will still not like other dogs or may be wary of strangers, while plenty of dogs who were not raised right are incredibly easy, loving dogs, and you only have to look at the dogs of the Michael Vick fighting ring bus to see that. Saying that dogs have to be raised right to be good dogs means the victims of cruelty and rescue dogs of a certain appearance are worthless and scary because they haven't had a great start. We all know here today that in the majority of cases that is not true. The key is in the current management of the dog by the current owner. By stereotyping the owners of a certain type of dog as irresponsible, you stereotype the dogs themselves. The absolute majority of dog owners of every single breed are responsible members of society and ensure that their dogs never cause a problem. So, if that's what you don't say, what do you say? What do you focus on when talking about this issue to anyone? The surface reason for BSL is always community safety. It is perceived, but not validated by science, that the targeted dogs are somehow different or deviant from the general dog population. For this reason, the words community safety must always be at the forefront of your vocabulary when speaking about BSL. This applies whether you're speaking to legislators, radio shock jocks, family and friends, or just people on the street. This is a really important one, guys, and something I want you to try and do as much as you can. Please stop making it about the dogs. I know that might be hard to hear, okay? All of us know the injustice and horror that is going on down in Victoria. All of our hearts broke with the deaths of Bear and Cooter and Bobo, and we all felt immense relief when we heard that Cursor had a stay of execution. I cried. But we must remember that we are trying to sell an overwhelmingly unpopular position to the general public. I'm going to be blunt here. Most people currently do not care that dogs are being euthanized. They believe these dogs to be a threat to their life and their families' lives. To them, euthanasia of a dog is a fair trade to keep a human being safe. And can you blame them for feeling that way? Serious dog attacks are incredibly rare when you consider how many dogs are living in our community, but they appear to be common and always by the same type of dog, thanks to the way, as we've heard, that the media covers these stories. They may think that BSL is an unpleasant but necessary legislation to protect them and their families. As Glenn said, fear is a huge motivator. Much of the general public have that belief. We know that. That's why the law is in effect. So focusing on the dogs themselves when talking about BSL is unhelpful, and it's actually detrimental to the cause, and actually makes those that are against BSL look like they don't care about dog attacks and dog attack victims, only their dogs. Remember me saying earlier that our focus must be on community safety? This is where this becomes particularly relevant. The way to change those people's minds is to show them that BSL does not make them safe. We know that. The evidence shows us that. The science and data shows us that. So don't focus on the injustice to the dogs. Focus on the injustice to the people of our community, you and I and everyone walking past here today. How all this money and time that local government is spending on this issue does absolutely nothing to keep them safe. Nothing. In fact, as the science shows, it actually probably makes things worse. Tell them about the models of animal management that are proven to work, that our government has chosen not to follow. Appeal to their sense of self-preservation and their want for safety. Show them that you want the same things as them. The only difference is that you have read up on the topic, and from that research you know that focusing on breed does not reduce the likelihood of dog attacks. You need to become the smartest person in the room. That's an Animal Farm Foundation quote, and it is so important, okay? You can do this by going to their website. They have so many documents and pages dedicated to making you the smartest person in the room, okay? And when you're talking about this issue, that's obvious. You need to research the Calgary model and have some handy facts in your brain ready to spit out. Calgary in Canada used to have breed-specific legislation over 20 years ago. They got rid of it because it wasn't working. Remember this and repeat ad nauseum. By focusing on responsible pet ownership of all breeds rather than BSL, Calgary more than halved their dog bites in 20 years. And in that time, the population doubled. So on a pro rata basis, they more than quartered dog bites. That's your little soundbite. That's what you keep repeating over and over and over again. That is huge, and that is the information that will make the public go, wow. Explain that the UK had very strict still has very strict BSL for over 20 years, and yet the number of people hospitalised by dog attacks has increased by about 50% in the last decade. Explain that the incredible numbers of states, counties, countries, territories around the world have repealed this type of legislation because it does not work. Remember these countries in your brain: Spain, Italy, the Netherlands, Germany, all have repealed BSL. Explain that dog attacks come about through a series of interacting factors, mostly environmental, and for this reason breed alone or appearance alone is not an accurate predictor of aggression. Please do not compare BSL to racism. You will offend many of the people that you are trying to get to listen to you for so many reasons. Again, I understand what you mean, but you've already converted me, okay? Don't do the emotion, don't do the dogs, don't do the racism, because that can be really offensive to so many members of our community, okay? You don't need to talk about that when you're talking about all this other stuff. Please show compassion for victims of dog attacks first and foremost. Show that you care about community safety and your fellow human beings. That's why you're involved in the topic. If you have a dog of vaguely bull breed or any large powerful breed appearance, then it is your duty to be a responsible pet owner. Do not let your dog off leash on the street. Don't let your dog be put in a situation where it's overly stressed, anxious or excitable. Train your dog for at least the basics: sit, drop, recall and loose leash walking under distraction. If your dog doesn't come back when you call it, don't let it off the leash. It's as simple as that. It doesn't need to run off the leash, play fetch in the backyard, okay? Talk to people about this issue. If you are confident enough, organise a meeting with your local MP, your councillors, talk to people within the animal industry, such as your vet, that may be ignorant to the issue or never really thought about it, but they're probably going to be outraged when they hear about what's going on. Send letters, emails, anything to legislators and keep up to date with what's going on when it comes to this topic around the world. There's new research all the time. It's a hot issue. Talk to your friends and family and people in the street that stop to chat about your dog. That's really grassroots where we're going to make a really big difference. If you are saying these things and you are the smartest person in the room and you talk to one person a month, if we all do that, that's a huge amount of people that are going to start thinking. Don't get angry at people. I know it's hard. I am a hothead. Don't get angry at people. Don't fight on Facebook unless you are talking about these things, okay? Don't get on there and talk about the injustice to the dogs. No one cares. Get on and talk about Calgary. Get on and talk about failure around the world. Talk about repeals. You can get angry and fight as much as you want, but don't call people stupid or insult them for supporting BSL, okay? You will lose the chance of ever changing their mind, and we will all be boxed into the anti-BSL people are as vicious as their dogs idea. I've had it said back when I've done all these things, by the way. Don't think I'm preaching. I've done all the wrong things and I'm trying to make myself stop doing it now. Acknowledge people's fear. Acknowledge that you want the same thing that they do. You want community safety. Explain to them the proven solutions. Talk about the Calgary model. Talk to them about BSL failing around the world, and just accept that some people will never change their minds, particularly if they've had a traumatic experience themselves. I want to stress here today that you guys are the answer. Those of you that turned up today are passionate and you're involved. You aren't just keyboard warriors. You want to see change. You can make a difference. You don't need to dedicate all day, every day to this cause. You can make a difference by sending an email here or there, commenting on Facebook with some carefully worded facts and sense, and being calm, showing yourselves at rallies, and speaking to the general public about the topic in a calm, relaxed and educated manner. Sometimes we can feel so overwhelmed by the BSL issue, overwhelmed by the general public's opinion, overwhelmed by the oppressive legislation, overwhelmed by the negative stories in the media, and overwhelmed by the stories of innocent dogs having their doors kicked in and being taken and killed. We can end up feeling like there's far too much to do and that our small contribution is a waste of time. There's a wonderful quote by Margaret Mead, an American cultural anthropologist, that sums up the power that those of us here today have. And I want you to remember it whenever you feel overwhelmed. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Thank you. Also, someone adopt Jackson. He needs his family home. He's been waiting for 6 months. He's the best dog. I don't understand. He is an idiot. If you like stupid, derpy dogs, Jackson's the way to go. He's just everyone's mate. Yeah.